Hey, I'll be sharing some thoughts of mine which I'm feeling right now for quite a while. The thoughts you are going to hear now is not anything. So, if you don't have any free time, you don't need to watch it. And this video is actually a recording for myself actually because I don't know how much in depth people usually see things, and I believe sometime I do have quite a depth, specifically in any conversation, mostly, and sometimes it's not. So it's about that phase of thinking. And recently, I've been through many things. So, specifically in AI, how maybe humans work, and yeah, so I'll be coming to it. Yeah, so let me just keep my ashtray over here. Yeah, so the thing right now we are in a position, like I'm talking about legit position. I'm just not talking about a random position which is gonna come at future, because things are happening right now. Right now, we didn't thought that we would reach to a point where these things will happen this fast, specifically the learnings, because you see, we never thought that AI could learn this fast. We thought that there should be a reinforcement learning with humans or without humans, and there should be a training period going on. But right now what we are finding, at least I am finding, that AI can learn very fast if you have a clear SOP. So the only leverage I have as an engineer, as an AI building product, or even as a researcher is I just need to understand how a standard, how a good SOP looks like, how a SOP from subject matter experts look like on that specific field. And we can easily replicate that process without going into the fundamentals of AI. And when I mean by learning, it is a it is a combination of a very dense information, in the sense that I can actually talk about it for quite hours. But let's come to it why I'm focusing on the learning part. The reason is simply because to reach a point, I will come into it, when I mean by to reach a point, or AGI, the normal life of a human, maybe, and this side of things. Uh, but let's easily come to it, otherwise, this video is gonna be an hour long. The only advantage we have as a human is actually learning, to be honest. We can see a thing, probably how to ride a bicycle, right? And it was very hard for a machine to learn that, and that was our only advantage. AI is better at knowledge, AI is better at replication, AI is mostly better at speed, but that learning part we had an advantage of. But by introducing these reasoning models, this learning, and to reach a point, it's not that we create to reach AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is actually the opposite word of narrow intelligence. And the narrow intelligence actually came when there was AI tool which was better at chess or better at checkers at a specific task. And after that point, the general intelligence came that AI is better at anything the normal human at any task, right? I think we reached to a point, to be honest, but I'm coming to it. It's gonna be a long video, and I hope not anybody is watching it. And to reach AGI, there are two options: that we create a model which knows everything, and then one other thing, we create a model which can learn fast, which can learn. So if you tell it to probably uh, do a graphic design, it can be able to learn it and be the world's best graphic designer the world has ever seen. Sorry for my English, because English is not my primary language, not even my secondary language. It's technically my third language, and yeah, it's right now. I think it's. Let me just see. Okay, it's 4:40 a.m. and that's why my face might be looking little dull. And I am right now in anyway, but let's not come to that. But what I'm trying to tell you that there are two options to it, and I think we reach to a point where the second option might work. We tell a agent how AI, of course, our AI agent cannot do that by itself. It cannot learn by itself. But it got to a point that if you provide any good documentation on what to do, it can able to do it. And I believe we came to a point where I can say we sort of reached AGI with a human. So if there is a human to operate who can use it, it can do actually anything. I mean, in terms of like the SaaS you are using right now, it can be HubSpot to anything. To be honest, you can build by yourself. I know it seems unbelievable that, yeah, maybe the vibe coders, the senior engineer can do that, but I'm not a senior engineer. I don't think myself as a senior engineer because, yeah, I know coding, but that does not mean that I have built software, I have worked in it. And what these coders were at a time, that these coders were the middle point between a thought and a creation, between a feature a project manager would want to integrate, and this coder were the people who were typing the code to reach to that point. And this point is actually, and legit, why I'm talking about SaaS, you might think, we need to build that, some of this and that. No, you just need to create a PRD, then user stories. Like you might have learned about Ralph loops. Uh, Ralph is a loop basically where you tell the idea you have, then it creates a PRD, and after that PRD, it creates user stories in a JSON file. And for example, if you want to build any type of SaaS, for example, a content engine, right? How it should be researching, how it should be, how the user should flow, like what feature it should be adding. Every little to little feature will come as a different user story. So different SaaS might have 100 or 120 or even 50 or 60 user stories, right? And what we do, that we create a PID with acceptance criteria, that the AI is also going to check that if these are working or not by those acceptance criteria. And this creates in a loop that it completes the first feature, the first PID, then it checks, then the second one, the third one, without any human intervention. So it is in sort of an autonomous loop. Things like, I think Claudebot, which is actually converted into Moldbot recently, is connected to many things. I don't think that it is a very revolutionizing tool, but the Claude Code or the Claude Cowork or the things right now I'm working, which is much more advanced, nuanced, and more niched, because it cannot be applied in many type of genre. Those got to a point, where if you, like, for example, recently there was a Remotion recently launched their skills. This is just a simple .md file, and by giving that skill to Claude Opus 4.5, it can actually really create very good visuals, very good motion graphics, which a motion designer would take 2-3 days in, and it can create in probably 2-3 minutes actually. And just a little manual process if you want to tweak something, just layer changes and something like that. very rudimentary design things. And this was just a small MD file. We had everything before that. We had Remotion, we had multiple other platforms, but because of that specific skills on how to use the tool and how to use the tool efficiently, it can able to do it. So if you provide anything, it can able to do it. And the main problem with it, with this, to reach to a AGI point is, I feel, the UX. We are coming to a point where the fundamental of user experience is gonna be changed in a very dynamic way, because every website you see now, every tool you see now was meant for human to do, but we created an tool, we created an technology. We also don't created it, it sort of emerged from the things we do. Got to a point, these tools I'm talking about, these LLMs, where it can take decision. And maybe we have that vibe, we have that taste, but if we tell how to develop that taste, AI can also develop that taste. That's what I'm talking about. So, like a good PRD, not good PRD, but a good documentation on how to do that. Now, I have talked enough about AGI, and there are so many things I want to talk about the future of humans, because if you think like that, the jobs we create, like the things which we have, like graphic designing as a job, coding as a job, these were never meant to happen in a way that Miramurati actually said that if things can be automated, then these were never there to begin with. And how I interpret it is, we created a capitalistic society, and the people who had the money saw that they have the power, and that's why they created this side of things to run an economy based on capitalism. Ultimately, most things have don't no value. The content you should see today, yeah, it do have value. If I really want to say, it do have value, that we are, as a human, we are getting the information in a very fast manner. But also, to a certain degree, when we create tools to replicate content, to automate marketing, to automate these things, then there is no value in it. Value in it in that inherent sense that the things we're doing now is just for money, just for that vanity metrics, in the sense like uh, subscriber count is a vanity matrix. These are just numbers. So after a certain point where you have enough money to live, these become a vanity metric. And what happens that the people who goes beyond that vanity metric tells other friends, because people need to go from that vanity metric, from that minimum money level where they don't need to think about money because they have everything they can. Mostly, not everything. They cannot buy a jet or a spaceship or something, but the basic needs are fulfilled. So they see money as a different thing uh, after a certain degree. And when they reach to a point, they want their closest friend to get to that point. So these came. So and then the this layer came, and this creates a chain where they are doing job, they are doing it, some of this and that, to run a organization where the top people are earning, some top people are also leaving, and some other people are going upwards, and little people are actually coming to a point where they cross that layer of vanity metric. So uh, what I was coming at, ki, because we created a society where these jobs are going to be meaningless ultimately, because AI can do it, of course, not in next year, but maybe in 5-6 years. Things will not matter anymore. The processes we've been through, and the main point which I was coming at is the UX of it. The website, the tool we use today was meant for humans to use. But because right now we have a decision point, a multi-agent framework, agents can actually use those tools. So the future of UX might be nothing in a sense that what we are trying to do right now, AI can do it. So we don't need to learn that. It is like a language. The UX was a language on how to convey that language so we humans can understand. But we humans got to a point when we are using the language understanding of AI. I have a different perception of language, different theory of language. That language is the main identity which made humans human, and the next generation is language as a parasite. I learned it from my brother, but anyway, let's skip that part. But we are not learning new language. We are translating that language to our to make sense to us via an LLM, via an agent, via an AI, which can able to understand that language. Let me know if that makes sense. So after a certain point, we don't need to click the buttons. AI can actually do that, because this middle point is not gonna be like is gonna disappear indirectly. So I was not able to find words anyway. So the future of AI is like there is a tool called PostHawk. There are many type of tool. If you want to install it, like of course it's not maybe usable for your use case, but there's a tool to it, and when you call that tool and if you run on your own system, there's a command to it, and when you click on that command, it come to your computer, it downloads everything, it you know do any type of thing which it need to do for it to get connected for your platform or for with your device. And yeah, it's his job. So it is actually like an employee sort of, which is translating that internal thing to directly to you, so you can use able to use that tool directly. So things are gonna come to that way, the law of AI UX in a post AI world. So that is there. Then yeah, so what was my point of making this video, you might think. The point of the video of this video, I believe, is me trying to express what things I'm working on. I might come to that later. Yeah, I might come to it now. So there are multiple type of company, and I'm trying to build some software. When I mean that I'm trying to build, it's not that I'm in that phase. It's that it's my task for today or for this week, and I will build it by this week itself, where people are able to. And yeah, I will not publish it, I will use it for myself and see, because for me getting money is not one of the most priority thing, to be honest. Right now I want to do research, because if I go on a product, build a product and do want to do marketing, and yeah, I can get 10 million 100 million VC funding, not I, but then I need to hire people who are very good at GTM engineering, because I have the product better than any people who are getting funding. And if I want to do that, I can probably for enough money, I might do it. But yeah, it's not that it don't motivate me anymore. But what I was telling you, that right now I'm trying to create a I did created a story generation machine previously, the last week, which actually takes the script and it cut it into scenes. Okay, and I can actually change the scenes and whatever I want later. But yeah, for example, if it is a 4-minute short film, then cut it into 8 or 10 scenes. For example, the first scene composes of a different dynamics, then the second scene will be of a different dynamics, and so on and so forth. And in the first, for example, the first scene, it may be for 30 or 40 seconds, when I click on extract frame, it creates a frame which will be required for that scene. Let me know if it makes sense. So for a 40-second there might be 20, 15 scenes, different frames. I mean, for one scene there might be 20, 30 frames. So for uh, 1 second there might be a single frame. For 3 seconds there might be a single frame, or for 10 seconds there might be a single frame where it is showing the face of the protagonist and the hand of the protagonist, and something like that, the environment, the room, the visual aesthetics or something. And the frame number 5 can able to take reference from the frame number 1 or the character sheet 1, and it will include that, in the prompt, that uh, get the character from my character sheet and the image is already attached, and get the environment room from the image, and you should be showing the image in that direction where there is a window in the background and the bed is in this position, the character is sitting on that, and in this style, for example, 2.5D Pixar 3D animated style. And yeah, it will create that frame. It has that frame understanding, and when you generate prompt, it can able to generate with reference to the previous frame, and in that way it will create a short film. So these things I created it. I'm not a very great coder, to be honest. It's just that I know how to use the latest tool. I'm not very good at AI. I'm not a very good machine learning researcher, in the sense that people who are working in DeepMind for years. I'm not in that level. I have not done any PhDs or anything. It's that I can able to leverage the machine in a way so the thoughts in my mind can be translated into it. The research I want to do, the depth I want to go at, can be done via AI. And that is why I think AI has got to a point where it can actually learn with a human, in the sense that if I want to operate it in a certain way and if I know how to use it, anybody can use it. I'm not that much, prodigy, in a sense. Yeah, of course, I might have tried many things early on, but I'm not a prodigy. I don't consider myself. So I can still do the marketing, but I just don't like to. It's just my own tool. I want to create short film by myself for my internal tool. If people want to use it, let me know. I'll share it to you. But yeah, so there is a different. So you see, for any database, for a year table, to use Airtable, for example, I need to add columns and everything. And to connect with AI, I need to connect with their MCP server and to chat. So chatbot is not a very good way, and the only database structure is not also a very good way of building application. There will be a new modern version of it, a nuanced version of it, till which I am not sure of. I have my own thoughts around it, which I can also talk about for many minutes, but I don't just want to, otherwise this video is gonna be much longer. So yeah, I want to know the laws of AI UX in the future. Anyway, I actually talked about maybe the content generation, the LinkedIn tool I'm planning towards. Now, one other thing I'm currently thinking about a lot is there is some problem with AI, and these are the problems which will solve some real issues instead of working on vanity metrics in marketing automations. So the thing I'm talking about is, one major thing is memory. You see, we sort of replicated our human things via neural network architecture, and in my opinion, these AI agents now reason better than normal human. But the one thing which it don't have is the hippocampus. And hippocampus is basically a part of our brain which remembers, which is responsible for episodic memory in terms of time, And for easier explanation, you can say it's used for memory, and AI don't have that memory. Of course, there are tools like Super Memory, Alchemist AI, Mem0. Mem0 is open source. I have not used it enough, but what I'm trying to say, yeah. So what I was trying to say that if we build that, which we are hurdling, I think DeepSeek uh, 4 is gonna have that integrated memory feature, which is semantic search sort of. But yeah, if you try to there is a very differentiative factor of a human in hippocampus on how it thinks, that when you need to think, we sort of process it, and then there are a lot of parts in our brain which activates to get that memory, and then we remember it, then we translate it in a way. And we also, humans are, are computers actually. If you see that what I'm trying to come at, maybe I know that, but the next word I'll be using, I don't know. I'm not thinking about the next 10 words right now. It's just sort of also a prediction model fine tuned on many data set of conversation, like AI. Like how AI, like after GPT-2 was just a simple next word predicting machine, and when it was fine tuned on question and answer, and in, as a as an assistant sort of, then it get to a point where it can able to answer your question because it got understanding of what to share, on how to share. But ultimately it's just next word predicting machine, like humans. I don't know what I'm coming at. I mean, the next word I'll be speaking, but it is just coming continuously like a prediction machine. So that's why I think the neural network architecture we build is quite close to what we do. It might not be perfect, it might not be perfect, or it might be perfect, or it might be better than us, or it might not be better than us. It might be better than us because it is almost very scalable, not infinitely scalable, because then there will be limitation on resources, then there will be limitations on architecture. But yeah, it might be better than us or it might not be, so it's a very good level to define it. And it's already been 27 minutes. I don't know what I shared in that. And if anyone you are watching right now, I don't know why you are watching right now. You're just getting a perspective from a person, and getting a lens from a person. And of course I might be wrong about all the things I just talked about, because ultimately at the end of the day it's just one perspective in a sea of billions, right? So yeah, we need to actually replicate a hippocampus, so sort of a infinite. And the good thing we have, right, that we forget, right? AI have that chat feature. AI have that. Of course, it might not be able to perfectly get that memory, but if we want to, then we can exactly say what to, when to. If we had a conversation 5 days ago, or maybe somewhere around 3 or 4 months ago, the AI can go on to 3 or 4 months interval between and then search through it, right? So it has a very good permanent storing system because it have all the data, of course in text form, not in all the things. But I don't know, how much it's gonna be, because world model are also coming soon. So yeah, the main point of the video was hippocampus, which I didn't talked about much in this video, and I can talk about it, but my mouth is hurting, to be honest. I talk too much right now. I'm a sort of an introvert person who don't talk enough, and I just talked enough. So peace. But mostly I touched all the points I tried to. I also wanted to cover the layer of no code development, that everything we see is a abstraction on top of something. So initially there was assembly language, then there were many type of programming languages on top of it, then there were C. On top of C there was some languages like Python and shit, which were a wrapper of it, right? And then there was framework like N8N or some automation framework which actually launched as open source, which I believe whose motto was to build a wrapper around the system, wrapper around JavaScript. If I talk about N8N, because I am an automation engineer, so this thing we adopted these no code development way later in 2022, 2021, 2023 in certain cases, but it should happen a way before. Yeah, you might say that there might be latency, there might be this and that and some of this and that, but when I'm trying to that these things also developed recently. This feature of AI agent LLMs and these things came, and these were very new. It should have been in 2010, 2012, 2015. So the gap between the people who don't know, who is not into tech, and the people who want to get into tech will be much easier, so they can able to understand, they would be able to build products. And if we created an ecosystem of it, then these things, this latency would have gone, because there would have better framework architecture to build this in a no code way so human can understand instead of reading the only code. Because if you see, the software engineer you see today should have shifted to N8N 10-15 years ago. Not N8N, but this automation or this no code based framework where they have the independence of doing anything, and much easier and much less time consuming. So the people used to take 1 month to build a product. I build that product in N8N maybe in a week, and through vibe coding I am doing it maybe in a day, but and better. But yeah, that's why there is a huge gap between the human coders and as the N8. I also wanted to talk about the N8N as a software because I was an automation engineer in that for quite a while. The main thing that it did not got adapted, but it did got adapted recently, but not for enough time. So senior developer and the people with creativity will completely shift towards that. So that was one thing, and then there was another thing. The problem with these right now, these are not focused, because if we cloud code and these things are gonna replace it, to be honest. And these guys have the power to change it if they want to and build a better framework which humans understand, because in code you don't understand nothing unless you are a very good senior engineer. But if you are a decent level engineer, or if you just know the process, you can change anything in N8N, because these are much easier tools for typical human to do. And there are certain limitations which can be solved in updates and when people get adapt. So if these guys create a framework, because N8N do have a sort of a framework, and these guys create a front end around it like Lovable, but instead of coding it will add nodes so human can able to understand it, and it integrates Postgres or something. Yeah, I get it that then it cannot be run in a 1 GB of GPU, but I'm not telling it to run that. Then there might be a bigger version of it, or might be this can be used as a plugin. But if these things can be adapted, then it will get much easier for people to completely shift toward, not from completely shifting toward code, but from a no code, so they can able to change something uh, from for their own anyway. So maybe the improvement I can talk about, that you have a good framework, maybe a proper SOP on how you build it, very good SOP. Then there are front end agents which will be using N8N as a backend, not coding, not only codes. I'm talking about N8N as a backend with good layers of functions, good not functions, because there are functions in code, but in nodes in init maybe. So good node naming with good description and connected to SQL and this side of things. So I believe it to be a future. I mean, this is a very good way of UX. We have AI which we can chat about. We can able to chat. We can able to edit it manually, and it is connected to a database. So it's not only chatbot. It is front end, a different type of UX essentially. No, it's not connected to UX. It was just a simple thing. It's just my brain tried to connect these two things, so my bad. Anyway, so yeah, I think there were many topic I wanted to cover, but it's already been 35-36 minutes, so I'll not. Till then, let's meet soon. Yeah, bye. Peace.